It's not that scary. There's no witches. There's no witches riding around threatening to turn me into a duster. Great, don't care. Cast a spell on me. I welcome it. Give it a try. It's not going to do dick. Today's episode of Brain Blaze is brought to you by Magic Spoon. It's the shizzle. Look, Magic Spoon. What is Magic Spoon? Well, they make breakfast cereal, but also you can have it as a snack. I snack on this. I remember the first ad I did for this, I was talking about how I snacked it, and they were like, Simon, just talk about it as a breakfast cereal. And maybe they'll make me cancel this one, but it's great as a breakfast cereal, but I also do snack on this stuff. I have like a box. In fact, this is the one I had on my desk, and I just have it open, and I'm just like, just nibbling on it. It's just tasty and it's healthy. Get back to the talking points. Magic Spoon is basically reinvented cereal. They've taken cereal and been like, yeah, you remember how good it was as a kid? And it was loaded with sugar and all sorts of stuff that wasn't bad for you. So you can't eat as an adult because otherwise, you know, your adult body will be like, what have you done? And now you're obese. No, Magic Spoon made a cereal that has 0 grams of total sugars, 5 grams of net carbs. Some are lower, I think. This one's 5. This one's 4. The peanut butter one's 4 grams of net carbs, 14 grams of protein. And this one's got 150 calories. Maple waffle's got to be more. Oh no, 150 as well. Some are slightly less. It's it's around thereabouts, guys. What you can do is you build your own variety box. They got a list of flavors here. I mean, I could read them here, but let's be reliable. Cocoa, fruited, frosty, peanut butter, cookies and cream, maple waffle, blueberry, cinnamon, plus newly formulated honey nut flavor. Guys, I have not got honey nut flavor. And I used to love honey nut unnamed competitor cereal. I can't name competitors, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I want to try that honey nut, guys. Come on. So what you do is you build your own box with your favorite flavors, or what you think will be your favorite flavors. I will tell you, get the peanut butter one. Cinnamon is not here. Get the cinnamon one as well. Maple waffle, get that. And what's a good classic flavor? Get some cocoa. Why not, guys? Oh, they say only 140 calories per serving. I was eating the 150 calories ones. They're all super good. It's also keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, low-carb. Call to action. This is what you should tell your audience. Okie dokie. Click the link below to get some Magic Spoon cereal today. You can build your very own variety box and use my code BLAZE for $5 off. You can choose from the best-selling Cocoa Fruited Frosty Peanut Butter Cookies and Cream Maple Waffle. I read this already. I definitely said that already. But wait, also Honey Nut to the permanent collection. How have I never tried this? Put it in my next box, guys, please. They've also got a 100% money back guarantee. So, happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it, they'll refund your money, no questions asked, but you will like it. It's honestly fantastic, and somehow it is good for you. It is basically wizardry. So click below, use the code BLAZE, you get $5 off, or just go to magicspoon.com/blaze, $5 off your order, and be sure to add the new honey nut to your custom box. Stop torturing me with a honey nut, Magic Spoon! And now today's video. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Brain Blaze. I am your host, Simon. Welcome. Danny writes it. I read it. Sam adds the memes and does some video editing or some such. Let's jump in. You know, a sitcom has made it when a big catchphrase from the show slips into the global lexicon. How you doing, friends? I don't believe it. I don't know what that's from, though. I mean, I know it, but I don't know what it's from. What you're talking about, Willis? I know that one as well. Also don't know what it's from. And oh my god, they killed Kenny. I know that one is from South Park. I've never seen South Park. Unbelievable.
Butters, I hate you with every inch of my body.
And who could forget Adolf Hitler's killer comical catchphrase from that 1990 UK sitcom? Hi, honey, I'm home. No, British TV, no. Well, it turns out that a lot of people got that one, but that's not to say that it never happened. As Chandler from Friends may have observed, could it be any more inappropriate? Hi, honey, I'm home was a very short-lived sitcom, which was shown on the satellite television channel Galaxy, a part of the fledgling British satellite broadcasting company. B-Sky B. No, those guys. It's Richard Murdoch's company. It's a bit of a bell, to be honest. Although 11 episodes were commissioned and 8 were filmed, only the pilot was ever broadcast before the plug was pulled in what was later dubbed perhaps the world's most tasteless situation comedy. And that's saying something, because there are some tasteless sitcoms. In some respects, the setup is quite traditionally British. It revolves around the antics of two sets of quarrelling neighbours who are constantly battling to get the upper hand. Wow, so not only was it inappropriate, it was also creatively a bit bankrupt too. Brilliant. I mean, creative bankruptcy is something I'm extremely familiar with, so yes. The difference here is that the year is 1938 and the neighbouring apartments are somewhere in Berlin. In one of the flats lives Adolf Hitler and his wife, Eva Braun. And their troublesome neighbours, a couple of Jews called... God damn it. God damn, B-Sky-B. God damn, really? Called Amy and Rosa Goldenstein. Jesus Christ. Who are locked in a petty feud with the Nazis next door, allegedly, with hilarious consequences. It's important to note that the pilot episode is prefaced with a caption which explains that viewers are watching recently found tapes of an old lost American sitcom which was produced in the 1950s but never transmitted. In other words, this is a spoof of 1950s US sitcoms, which is intentionally ridiculous and is even served up with fake whooping and cheering whenever a character walks onto the set for the first time. Okay, that's a cleverer, a more clever premise than what I thought we were originally starting with today. You're meant to be laughing at the absurdity that such a show could ever exist. The leading character of Adolf Hitler, played by British actor Neil McCall, with a strong New York accent, bears little relation to his real-life counterpart and is more of a stereotypical American sitcom character who dresses up in golfing sweaters and gets involved in comical domestic arguments with his wife and neighbors. Having said that, you do occasionally see glimpses of his true nature, and he calms himself down from erupting in a tantrum by fantasizing about conquering Poland. And the whole plot of the pilot episode, which is basically a political twist on the VIP coming home to dinner theme. I have no idea what that theme is. In this case, the VIP is British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, who is popping over to try and get a very reluctant Hitler to sign the Munich Agreement and avert the outbreak of war. Yeah, I know it was 1990, but still too soon.
You finally did it, didn't you? You finally went one step too far, Mr. Big Shot. Well, don't say I didn't warn you.
Okay, Ava, you were right, I was wrong.
Hitler attempts to hide this Peace for Our Time document in the fridge while simultaneously trying to keep his troublesome Jewish neighbors from interrupting his important dinner. The reaction to the only broadcast episode wasn't particularly positive, with the Secretary General of the Board of Deputies of British Jews complaining that it was in very poor taste and trivialized the Holocaust. Yeah, well, I mean, he's kind of right, isn't he? Meanwhile, The Telegraph claimed that the theatrical agents had refused to send their actors to audition for later episodes, but this was never confirmed. But it was a quieter scandal than might have been expected, and the reasons for the abrupt cancellation were not straightforward. At the time, British satellite broadcasting only had 175,000 subscribers in total, and it's estimated that only a few thousand at most ever actually saw "Hail Honey, I'm Home." There had always been a planned gap between the broadcast of the pilot episode and the additional episodes, which were filmed much later and would see a few tweaks in the format, including the recasting of Eva Braun. Wait, so they filmed the pilot and they aired the pilot, and then they're like, we're going to recast it. Isn't the point of a pilot where you might have different actors because you test it? Like, I've made a bunch of, episodes for shows that I've never done. Like, YouTube stuff that I make. Because I'm like, okay, let's try this, let's try that, let's try this. And then I make it, and then I run it past some people, like my little circle of, tested people. And they're like, either, it's good, or they're like, that is a bit shit. And if it's a bit shit, I don't put it out to the world and then change it later. I mean, I change it much later if it's not working much later. This got quite self-referential, didn't it? But my point is, why would you air a pilot when you might be changing the actors? That makes no sense. However, during that gap, B-Sky-B was acquired by Sky, who pretty much cancelled all of Galaxy's programming in one fell swoop to focus more on movies and sports. Midway through filming the 9th episode, the cast and crew were told to leave and find some other way of causing great offense to the British public. The newly merged B-Sky-B had no interest in... Oh, wait, BSB is a different company to B-Sky-B? Because it's now written B-Sky-B in the script. I guess they inserted the Sky. But then wasn't British Sky broadcast? Oh, who cares? No one cares. At some point, Richard Murdoch got involved, and that's unfortunate because no one likes him. For good reason, in my opinion, allegedly.
In a stunning turn of events, a superhero is being sued.
The newly merged B-Sky B had no interest in broadcasting the episodes that were already in the can, and to this day, they have never been shown anywhere in the world or released on home media. Probably for the best, but although it's often reported that Heil Honey I'm Home was pulled in the aftermath of a public outcry, the truth of the matter is that nobody really watched the pilot, and the rest of the series was just the victim of a corporate murder. And by murder, I definitely meant to read merger. I guess I got a bit of a small brain today. Had the pilot episode not been uploaded to YouTube in 2012, it's doubtful if anyone would have even remembered this curious relic from the early days of satellite broadcasting. Creator and scriptwriter Jeff Atkinson, who used to write for the slightly less controversial The Two Ronnies, still claims that the series had potential, but that the humour perhaps didn't translate as well as he had hoped. Translate into what? Something better?
It is shit, Austin.
Oh good, then it's not just me.
Maybe he still harbours hope of a revival. In contrast, the leading actor Neil McCall now point-blank refuses to even discuss the show at all. I mean the fictional character in the TV show rather than the real-life murderous despot. Whoops. I missed a line. But has history been a little unkind to Adolf Hitler? I mean the fictional character in the TV show rather than the real-life murderous despot. Thank you for the clarification, Daddy. We all needed that. Also, someone could definitely take that out of context. Especially as I make a lot of history content. Has history been too unkind to Adolf Hitler? No! It always appeared perfectly acceptable for comic greats such as Charlie Chaplin, Mel Brooks, and John Cleese to lampoon Hitler and the Nazi regime over the years. So what's the difference with a TV show that was only intended to be a purposefully crass parody of a terrible idea for a sitcom in the first place? Well, the meta-ness of it, the fact that it was pretending to be a discovered show from the 1950s does make this a lot better, and it makes it kind of unique and funny. So it's less appropriate than I first thought it was, but still.
Here comes the tickle monster.
What the hell is even that?
Perhaps the biggest problem with the format is not with Hitler himself, but with the Jews living next door to a comedy version of the guy who'd be responsible for the murder of 6 million Jewish people in the years that directly followed the setting of the sitcom. Yeah, if you believe the Holocaust was real. But seriously, I mean, I made a video about like my favorite conspiracy theories, and it's like the reptile one's the one that always gets me. I don't think that the problem with Holocaust denial is it's just not funny. Like the reptile one, it's like, oh yeah, that's good for a laugh. People are idiots. But then when you know, Holocaust denial is generally, I mean, they're idiots, but it's also like, you know, drenched in a really healthy dose of racism. Also, I'm probably going to get in trouble because my sarcasm there might not be clear enough for the YouTube robotic overlords. Just to be clear, the Holocaust did happen. Jesus Christ.
I can't believe this story you're telling me. It's macabre.
You can't help feeling this is just a little insensitive and not exactly a gold mine of rich comic material. But another problem is the very fact that it's meant to be satirizing a sitcom rather than satirizing the Third Reich. This is the very thing that worked against it. Well, I thought this was kind of a clever idea. Satirizing the Third Reich, it's like, well, you know, making jokes about genocide, not super easy. Making jokes about 1950s sitcoms, a lot easier. I think this is kind of okay. It seems that it's okay to poke fun at Hitler if you portray him as a clueless, ranting, goose-stepping madman, but it's not okay to just plant him in a satire of a sitcom where there's risk of him becoming an almost likable anti-hero that you might even be rooting for. That is a fantastic point, though. That is a really good point. The final problem is the most cardinal sin that can ever be committed by a sitcom. It's simply not funny. This might have worked as a one-off 5-minute skit, but attempting to stretch it out to a full series was a bit like the invasion of Poland, and it was never destined to end very well.
And don't think you can smooch around me like that, Adolf Hitler!
Dodgy street corners. Even the most successful and well-established TV show can occasionally go too far and produce an episode that is designed to be taken out of circulation and become the stuff of myth and legend. One of the biggest serial offenders is that notorious and deeply controversial slice of boundary-busting TV that we dare to call Sesame Street. Boundary busting? Alright. The long-running educational series featuring a menagerie of manic Muppets first launched in 1969 didn't take long to get up some people's noses. A little bit like cocaine. Doesn't take long at all. There it is, and now it's gone. In 1970, the State Commission in Mississippi voted not to broadcast the show on their new public television network because it was deemed to be unsuitable for a Mississippi audience. The reason? Sesame Street featured a highly racially integrated cast of children, which Mississippi was not ready for yet. Yeah!
That's racist!
Oh, well. The State Commission should probably have canvassed for local public opinion first. They might have ended up asking Muppet creator Jim Henson for his thoughts, as he was from Mississippi himself. Sesame Street co-creator Joan Gans Coney certainly made her opinions known when she described the ban as a tragedy for both the black and white children of Mississippi. The decision was reversed 3 weeks later when a baffled member of the State Commission leaked the results of the vote to the New York Times. Good for you. Just one episode of Sesame Street holds the distinction of never getting broadcast at all. The show is known for tackling difficult real-life issues, and in 1992 it decided to tackle the sensitive subject of divorce. Perhaps slightly weirdly, there was no attempt to depict the trauma of divorce from the perspective of a human child. Instead, they produced an episode titled Snuffy's Parents Get a Divorce. If you don't know Snuffy, full name Mr. Snuffleupagus, it's a giant brown fluffy Muppet mammoth with a long trunk and big eyelashes, not a million miles away from an anteater, except for the eyelashes thing and the dopey voice. Anteaters are very well spoken. No dopey voices at all there. Anteaters are highly educated. During the episode, we were meant to see an emotional Snuffy sadly explain to his best friend Big Bird that his dad is moving out to some cave across town because of something called a divorce. Although we see his Muppet friends rally around Snuffy and offer support, many kids were left upset and confused during multiple test screenings. Like, why is Daddy getting a divorce? He's an alcoholic and has had numerous affairs. The children aren't ready for this. This must have been partly because they hadn't been introduced to Snuffy's dad before. He's just some random Snuffleupagus who turns up to announce that he's leaving. Some of the children felt unsure if Snuffy's parents really loved him, whilst others were fearful that an argument between their own parents might lead to their own dad moving out to another cave. It maybe didn't help matters that the saucer-eyed and innocent Snuffy was such an adorable and vulnerable creature. The kids just wanted a hug. The sledgehammer tactics felt similar to trying to tackle the subject of family bereavement by showing Kermit the Frog getting trampled to death by a combine harvester. Shit. Although I always thought the way to go in a combine harvester, I mean, yeah, it's big and it can trample you to death, but what if you go in that part where the grains go? It's like, that's not trampling you to death. That is scooping you up and turning you into flour, basically.
Cocaina. No. Flour.
The episode has still never been broadcast to this day after producers found that the distressed children hadn't been able to fully comprehend the topic.
Be Alice. Daddy! Hiya, Daddy! So, are you guys ready to go to the playground?
But by far the most legendary, mythological, lost episode of Sesame Street blew in on a westerly wind in 1976. The infamous episode 847 was broadcast just 1 month. Was broadcast just once before being pulled out of syndication, never to be seen again. Oh my god, what did they do? What did they do?
Terrible things, Lawrence. You've done terrible things.
And this is something of a shame, as the episode holds quite a bit of historic value for cinema fans. No less than 37 years after she first made her appearance as the Wicked Witch of the West in the classic 1939 film The Wizard of Oz, actress Margaret Hamilton reprised the role that very nearly killed her for Sesame Street. Brackets open, indicating an aside. During her fiery escape scene from Munchkinland, Margaret suffered 2nd-degree and 3rd-degree burns. Oh my god, those are the bad types of burns. After a trapdoor failed to open on time, taking her out of action for the next 6 weeks. Oh my god. On this occasion, the clumsy witch had dropped her broomstick while flying over Sesame Street and is forced to grumpily converse with the natives in a bid to get it back. Oscar the Grouch seems quite smitten with the witch, but the other residents of Sesame Street aren't quite so taken, especially after she angrily threatens to turn poor Big Bird into a feather duster. Oh no, Big Bird, no! Many of the preschool audience were frankly terrified over this unwelcome appearance, and the show was flooded with complaints from parents who claimed that their traumatized children would never be allowed to watch Sesame Street again after the screams and tears and shrieks had finally subsided. Yeah, but also children one day have to realize that the real world is out there, and it's scary. It's not that scary. There's no witches. There's no witches riding around threatening to turn me into a duster. It's not that bad. Yeah, what we do in TV. One slightly weirder complaint came from a viewer identified as Wiccan and felt outraged by the depiction of a naughty witch stereotype and advised the producer to portray witches as they really are. So, deluded and not real. Whether prompted by this being a writer, Simon, I'm a Wiccan. Fantastic. That means nothing to me. That's like saying, I'm religious. Okay, fantastic. I believe in things that aren't real. Great. Great. Don't care. Cast a spell on me. I welcome it. Give it a try. It's not going to do dick.
Weather prompted.
Whether prompted by this curious observation or the outcry from parents, a series of special test screenings were later held to an overwhelmingly negative reaction, leading to the decision to permanently pull the episode from syndication. If episode 847 had been broadcast a decade later, it would almost certainly have been captured and preserved on home media, but instead, the return of the Wicked Witch of the West has disappeared in a puff of smoke and looks unlikely to ever see the light of day again. On reflection, perhaps it was never a great idea to have a cackling villain infiltrate the highly safe haven of Sesame Street, threatening to dismember the Muppet cast. I bet Snuffy's dad would have soon snorted her out if he hadn't been shacked up with his secretary in a cave on the other side of town doing too much cocaine. Ding dong! This has been an episode of Brain Blaze. It ended rather suddenly there. I thought there was another entry coming, to be honest, but there's not. So, thank you so much for watching. I've forgotten how to do an outro. Have a brilliant day.
And don't think you can smooch round me like that, Adolf Hitler!